Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 879. Hello, this is Mike Matthews broadcasting from Cafe Anyway here at the last place on earth, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Today it's part 3 of my Into an Interview with the wonderful Bay Area band called the Orange Peels. And we'll be talking about the amazing alternative rock icon they're going to be performing with
Mike's Daily Podcast
this year. Plus, we'll hear from Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, the Brewmaster, to wit,
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I have a whole bunch of stuff to say about Sprint. They sucked me in with a great deal that now stinks. I tried to walk into a store to tell them what I think. They basically were sucking money out of my wallet, all they could drink. Their framily pan is more like an insanity plan.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I've been paying them $15 extra a month, and man,
Mike's
I still can't get a logical answer
Daily
why.
Podcast.
But everybody else sucks too.
Yeah!
All this amazing technology we can use with these little devices, but they're dependent on con artist companies. Wonderful. Look, I just walked in. Hi, Mike. It's Benita, the rodeo queen. How y'all doing?
It's a disgruntled fiddle player. Tell you
What?
I think what y'all need to do is just take that cell phone thingy you got and throw it into the ocean and just use word of mouth to get your message out to people and to find out what's going on with the world.
So what you're saying is I should use pigeons.
Yeah, pigeons work just as well.
You know what? I tend to agree. Look who else just walked in.
Hello there, Mike. I'm the Brewmaster.
Brewmaster, how are things going on between you, Shelley Shuhart, and such?
Mike, Shelley Shuhart and I are so in love.
Well, Brewmaster, that's amazing because I'm in love with Benita.
Hey, Brewmaster, I'm in love with this Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Everyone's in love. It's so wonderful. Everyone's in love. The whole world's in love. But I'm not. I'm not in love. So don't forget, it's just a silly phase I'm going through. But this is something interesting. The Sprint, when I went in yesterday, the guy, he really could not give me a straight answer. And all he did was make it more and more confusing. The $15 is something like I have to pay because my ex-wife bought a new phone while we were like still married or something. I don't know. It was just so confused. Anyway, I need to just sit down. I was getting it was sort of like one of those situations where you can't stay in the store any longer because they're not helping you understand. Oh, and not only that, the guy was really nice that was helping me, but all of a sudden this weird, dark, scary guy walked over to our little like fake cubicle where we're talking to each other. They make it look like, oh, that's right. They make it look like when you're talking to someone that's in jail. If you're going to go see your Uncle Bob that's in jail and you're sitting at one of those tables and you pick up the phone, that's what they got you in. One of those things. Kind of a confessional situation. I don't know. Anyway, Cafe Anyway, I'm trying to talk to the guy, trying to understand him, and then this weird, strange, dark fellow walks over to kind of just sort of stand there. And he was just sort of plucking away on his smartphone and he wasn't adding anything to the conversation. He wasn't trying to clarify what that guy just said to me. That was really confusing. Just the whole Sprint organization, top to bottom, is whack. But then you walk into any other, I want to just talk at this level for a little bit longer. You walk into any other smartphone place and they give you the same, it's the same exact dynamic. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for understanding. Anyway, what do you think about smartphone people and their companies, and that when you walk into a mobile phone store, what's the situation you get? Because immediately after that, I walked into a T-Mobile, and that place was chaotic, tiny. This guy comes up to me, hey man, I'm the manager. Hey, this is what what are you paying at Sprint? Oh, I can get you a better deal. It was not a better deal. Oh, but you can hear us in, you won't have any roaming charges when you're in Europe. When am I ever in Europe? Yes, I need to go to Europe. I have relatives there I need to visit. But I'll be there for like a very short time. I won't use my smartphone at all. I don't need this huge, expensive plan. Ugh. So you can email me, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. Or you can comment on my Twitter. You can follow me at Mike Talks or comment on my Facebook, facebook.com/MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST. What do you think about all this, Benita?
Nah, I just buy a plan and I don't look into it. I don't worry about it because it causes me too much stress.
Ah, I see. So ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, if it's really bad, somebody out there is going to hire a lawyer to sue him, and then I'll get back all the money that they owe me.
That's right. That kind of just happened. I think it was with Sprint, wasn't it? They got sued and they had to get back a bunch of money to their customers. Oh, I didn't get any money from that. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, so I should just stick my head in the sand and not stress about it. Is that what you're saying, Benita?
Yeah, like an ostrich. They're delicious.
The other white meat.
Yeah, I'm going to go find some right now and make a sandwich. Bye, ostrich sandwiches are good.
We read your comments on the section emails from email and your and not so comments. And you can also tell me if you'd like to sponsor the show or be a guest on the show too. MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. Check out the website MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com with links to where to listen to the show in iTunes. Rate and comment on the show there. If you do that, more people find out about us and we don't languish in obscurity. You can also hear us on YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podomatic, Mixcloud, Spreaker, Player FM, and Ameristream Live. And weekday mornings, I am on Wolverine Radio in Griswold, Connecticut. And you can listen to that show online. A link to that at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com and a link to the country station that I'm on weekends, Country Crossroads. Link to that as well at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. You can also tell your friends about this show through my Instagram, Yelp, and Tumblr. Links to all of those at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. And if you want to help us out too monetarily by not actually giving us money, but by just doing what you usually do, like if you'd like to shop on Amazon, go through the Amazon link at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. And whenever you buy anything, go through that, and that helps us out if you go through the MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com link. The Amazon link that you find there. And there's the blog, the Daily Podcast picture, all my past interviews too at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Now, part 3 of the Orange Peels interview.
Into an interview.
Okay. I'm speaking with ALLEN CLAPP, having a wonderful conversation. He is the guitarist, keyboard player, singer, general foundation and rock of the band The Orange Peels, a band I very much enjoy. And do you guys have shows coming up in the near future?
We do have shows coming up. We're going to be going on tour this summer, and I think that our first dates are going to be in the early part of July. But the exciting thing that we have that we can announce and that's solid about this is that we've got a handful of shows with Matthew Sweet in the Midwest, and those begin around, I think, July 11th.
They're on your website, theorangepeels.com.
Yes. So we're playing a number of Midwest dates with Matthew and his great band, and we're sort of building our tour around those dates, and there's going to be some before, some after. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to end up or where we're going to officially start it, but July is going to be a good time to see the band play live.
Have you met Matthew Sweet before?
I've never met him personally. I've seen him. I saw him at Bimbo's in San Francisco several years ago. But I do know a couple of the guys in his band because we used to be on a small record label called the Bus Stop label all together back in the 90s when I was doing my Allen Clapp and his orchestra thing. Yeah. And way back then, Rick Menk and Paul Chastain, who are the drummer and bass player, respectively, for Matthew Sweet, they were in numerous different bands back then. the Springfields, Choo Choo Train, all these sort of different crazy indie pop bands that were coming out of the Bus Stop label and forming the backbone of a lot of what U.S. indie pop really kind of was in the 90s.
Wow.
And then later they went on to form Velvet Crush, and they got pretty big as Velvet Crush, and they all do stuff independently, but those guys play with Matthew as a pretty regular part of his band. So it's gonna be fun to connect with those guys.
Well, I wonder if Susanna Hoffs is going to show up because she does all those albums with him.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe she's like, in the Midwest at that time, maybe on a water ski vacation, I would like to imagine. She may show up. I have no idea.
Walking like an Egyptian, something to that effect. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, elements of the Orange Peels seem very Lemon-esque. Sorry, I knew I was going to do that when I wrote this question down. Lennon-esque. It's because I went all citrusy. I went lemon-esque.
Right. Lemon-esque. I like that. That's good.
Lennon-esque. I mean, because like you use the reverb really well, and you've got all these layers going on, and that's anyway something I wanted to throw out there.
Well, thank you. I'll take that. I mean, I don't have any problem with that description.
You like the John Lennon?
Oh, sure. Gosh, what's not to like? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he was the guy that in the Beatles that just wanted to rock, and in his solo stuff, he went places that sort of none of the others went.
Right.
And I guess John was not content to revisit the past or his own past a lot, and he always wanted to be moving on to the next thing, and that's something that I really kind of identify with. I think I like to think that our albums are changing, and the group is evolving every time we put out something, and so that's something I really respect about John Lennon.
And Alan, how did you get into making music? Was it listening to John Lennon albums?
Well, that's part of it, for sure. Although I think my first experience with realizing what a huge music fan I was probably happened when I was 5. And we had a piano in our house when I was growing up. And, Elton John was huge back, when I was a kid. And one of the first things that I did was I taught myself how to play Crocodile Rock on the piano. And that song was a huge hit. It was just unavoidable, like in the early to mid 70s. And I was this kid. I had an ear for music, and I didn't know that you were supposed to take lessons. And I just sat down and taught myself how to play it on the piano. And then the people in my family were like, "Wow, like how did you do this?" And so that was sort of the beginning of me wanting to do music. And basically ever since I was 5, I knew that I wanted to, be in a band, write songs, record people. I would always get into the liner notes in those early Elton John records, because it would say who played what. Elton John played piano, ARP synthesizer. Like, what's an ARP synthesizer? Selena string synthesizer. What's that? Mellotrons. What are all these things? My brain is just going nuts. And so, yeah, I was very interested in all that kind of stuff.
Is there a particular music store you'd go to find those things?
Yeah, I grew up in Foster City, just on the other side of the bay from where that accident happened. And just about the only music store around was B Street Music in San Mateo. So I would go there. They didn't have a lot of these things because a lot of these things were pretty esoteric things that you'd only find in recording studios. And B Street Music was more of a gigging band sort of music store. And so, back then you had to go to specialized places to find stuff like, synthesizers and, Roland space echo or, some sort of weird effect that you were looking for. So you weren't really sure where these people got this stuff or what these things actually even look like. Because there was no internet. So I would just dream that these things looked a certain way, and when I first saw my first synthesizer at a music shop, I freaked out. It was just too cool, and it was pretty much foregone conclusion that I was going to try to do music from an early stage.
Allen, you know what I just discovered is you have a Foster City accent. Because
a Foster City accent, there's no such thing.
No, because
I will say this that there's no such thing.
Well,
but I'll listen to your argument.
Yes, because I have a friend named Steven Spees, and he grew up in Foster City, and there are times when I'm speaking to you that I feel like I'm talking to Steve. It's weird.
Maybe there is such a thing as a Foster City accent.
And he's from Foster City.
Maybe growing up a block away from the San Francisco Bay does something to your speech patterns or something. I don't know.
And isn't it the home now of or PlayStation or I don't know? It's got all this. Philips CD, the people that make the CD.
Yeah. There's a bunch of big high tech corporations that have their corporate offices there, and a lot of them have outposts there, and a lot of biotech companies.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, Foster City. I mean, when I was growing up there, it definitely didn't have any of that stuff. It was more like, it just wasn't that. It was more like, rafting around on the lagoons in the summer and try not to be bored.
Was the water really disgusting? Because they're like little tidal pools where the water comes in from the bay, right?
Yeah, they pump water in. It's okay. I mean, there are certain times of the year when it would get pretty green with algae, but they, it was an open loop system. They would pump water in from the San Francisco Bay on one side of the city. It would flow through all these different channels and canals and man-made lake kind of things, and then it would go back out into the bay on the other side. Pretty sophisticated. Foster City was one of the first. Yeah, I think it was one of the first planned communities in the western United States. So they did. It was nothing. It was an island with an annual hay crop in all the way up until the early 1960s, and then they decided that they were going to develop it and turn it into a city. And so the whole thing is fabricated. It's a prefab city.
It is
from start to finish.
Very beautiful city. Yeah, it is very well designed, and it's amazing. And then also, but the only thing is you got the planes landing at SFO kind of flying over.
Yeah, they're noisy. And we moved. My family moved out of its first house in Foster City to a different neighborhood because the airplanes were so low over our house that it was just, I grew up with that, so I never really noticed it, but everyone else in the family didn't like it, so we moved out of that house.
I lived in Van Nuys in the San Fernando Valley as a kid, and we were on the flight path for Burbank. And so
you know what it's like.
Yeah, you've just screaming noise every couple of minutes, loud planes. Yeah, fun times.
Yeah, it's bad.
And they have a fireworks show in Foster City, and I went last year, and you cannot leave for hours after that thing takes place. It's like it's
amazingly popular.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, if you live on the peninsula, that's the go-to spot for fireworks. It's nuts, and they shoot them off right over the big lagoon there in downtown, and there's people out there on barges and stuff like that, watching the fireworks from out in the water. It's crazy, but yeah, if you drive in there, you're stuck there for hours.
Wow.
It's true.
Now let's get to the song Back in San Francisco. So, was this a song written because you were back there then? I guess.
So, Back in San Francisco was a song. It's probably as relevant today as it was when I wrote it. I think I wrote it around the first .com boom. The original .com boom of like 99, 2000, that kind of stuff. And the song it's a love-hate relationship with this place and what it's become. And it's sort of like, the song describes the relationship between two people, but it's really almost more so describing the relationship with a person and the city that they love. And so it's about just accepting it, right? So ultimately the guy's like leaving, he's got to get away, he wants to break up with the city, and then he comes back and he just says, I'm going to accept it for whatever it is because I love this place. So that's what the song's about. And then, I guess now it's with this second huge wave of tech that's going on in the city. It's much more intense now than it ever was back when I wrote the song. But I guess it's probably still just as relevant now as it was then.
And there's this cool like guitar work in it, very like surf guitar almost feel to it.
Yeah, that's Larry. That's our original guitar player, Larry. He wrote the music for the song, and he basically came into practice one day with, the song's got this crazy sort of off-kilter timing in the intro. It's this rebounding, bouncy guitar thing that sort of like goes up and down the scale, and he just played this thing for us in rehearsal one day. He said, "Hey guys, I got an idea for a song." And he just came in and played that thing for us, and then he started saying, "Yeah," and then it goes to this chord and blah 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 blah. We're like, "What the heck is that?" Like, what? We couldn't even play it. It took me forever to figure out the timing of that thing, but we finally did, and then I came up with those lyrics, and it became one of our most popular songs. I love that song. I still love it. I think it's great. I think the guitar work is really just stellar, and it's walking the line between surf and sort of like there's a jazz sort of timing feel to that intro thing, and it's a theme that sort of comes back later in the song. I like that. It's a great piece of music.
And it's from So Far.
It's from So Far. That was our second record.
And you can find all these albums at theorangepeels.com. Not you, Alan. Well, of course you can, Alan, but the person listening.
I could. That's true.
Everyone can except for Alan. Alan's not allowed to touch the stuff.
Everyone except me. Well, that's fine too. I already have it. I should also quickly mention that back in San Francisco, I was talking earlier about John Mormon, the guy that was our drummer and who has now become our lead guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
I think back in San Francisco was the first thing that John Mormon ever drummed on for the Orange Peels. So the drums that you hear, that's John. Becoming an Orange Peel and being our drummer.
Excellent. Okay. So
yeah.
It's a very
full circle.
Wow, it's a pivotal tune in John Mormon's career. Awesome. Well, let's listen to it now. It is the song Back in San Francisco by the Orange Peels on Mike's Daily Podcast. Lovely, lovely guitar playing on that. Back in San Francisco by the Orange Peels as we go outside a cafe anyway here at the last place on earth located somewhere in Podcastro. Next show, the finale of my Into an Interview with ALLEN CLAPP of the Orange Peels.
And here's today's podcast picture.
On Mother's Day, I took this picture. I was with my mom in Daytona Beach, Florida. It was really exciting because I think it had been the first time in probably over 13 years that I had actually had the chance to spend Mother's Day with my mom, because she moved to Florida like 12 years ago. And anyway, it was great to be there on Mother's Day. We saw a great production of Cabaret, you know, the thing that Liza Minnelli was in, although the movie is nothing like the musical. There's the music obviously is similar and everything, but the storyline is kind of different when they do it on stage, especially since that movie was made back in the 70s and they've actually slightly tweaked the play over the years. So they did this production in Florida in a little town called DeLand, and a lot of the people that were performing, as I mentioned on a previous show, were from Disney World, Orlando. They do shows they do a lot of live shows at the various parks there in the Magic Kingdom in Orlando. So there was some great talent and a great production, and I finally got to see it. And it's funny because, like I was saying, my mom is German, so to hear all these people on stage trying to do German accents when some of them obviously probably have never spoke German, it was kind of funny. And then they had to actually speak German. Some of them had to sing German. It was funny. Great Mother's Day. And then we ended the day at this restaurant overlooking the Halifax River in Daytona Beach. And you can see that scenic shot there at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
Mike, it looks like the sun was setting. It was beautiful.
Yeah, Benita. Beautiful day.
I wish I could speak German. Teach me a word.
When you say thank you, you say Danke.
Dunkin' Donuts?
No, it's Danke.
Oh, okay. I'll practice that.
Good. You don't have to.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Anyway, next show, it will be the finale of my Into an Interview with the Orange Peels and ALLEN CLAPP. Plus, we will hear from Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!